Welcome to our Happy Sunday broadcast for Radiance Ultimate. This game, big matchup looking for Radiance versus Strike. Both teams kind of knotted up, middle of the season type beat. Should be a good game. Really excited to take this. I'm here with Eric Taylor.
Hi, this is Jenna Dahl. Yeah, and we're just excited to kick off this mid-season game between Strike and the Radiance. Yeah, Eric teed it up, but I think we're just, see the players taking the field right now. This isn't a little back.
Discraft Ultrastar is the official disc of the Premier Ultimate League. Discraft, the world leader in disc sports. And also brought to you by Breakmark. This live broadcast of Premier Ultimate League is brought to you by Breakmark Apparel. Go to breakmark.com to place your next custom team order or check out the PUL Athlete Collab shops.
We also wanted to give a shout out to our corporate sponsors here in Raleigh, Durham. So if you are one of our local corporate sponsors out in the audience, stand up, give us a wave. But just to give a shout out, we've got Lori Marcy Real Estate, Eat Street Discs, Well Sport Massage and Bodywork, O2 Fitness, Sue Digital Media, Hannah Day Photography, Select PT, and the Carolina Flyers. Thank you so much for supporting the Raleigh Radiance this season. So kicking off this first quarter, looks like we've got Strike on the left side of the screen, starting on defense, pulling to the Radiance.
I'm pretty excited to see how some of these first O possessions start. I think it oftentimes is useful for teams to really get out here and make statements, get a sense of what the trajectory of the game is maybe going to look like. A quick weather check. I might be a little bit biased, but I think it's pretty great conditions for Ultimate right now.
I agree.
Slightly overcast. You can see, perhaps for some camera angles off the side, flags are blowing around, so there's a little bit of wind out here today. Definitely curious to see what sort of offensive possessions look like. And we got our opening pull for Strike going into the wind. Short pull at half field. Radiance coming out in a horizontal stack.
Q picking it up, looking for the isolation. She shoots right to Zeus, going deep. And it's just a miss there.
That downwind maybe contributing to a little bit of IO fade towards the offside. Now we see Strikes D-line O going upwind.
Yeah, when there is this little bit of wind, it's always interesting to see, how well did the teams prepare in the warm-up to the game. Did they get the wind dialed in? Are they still going to be working through things? First go. What a great grab.
Man, Strike really looking pretty comfortable on that flat side of the field. A couple of good upfield break throws. Another one, good pressure. Toe it in just on the sideline.
Moving the disc well, using both sides of the field. Taking a shot. Just out the back. So this Radiance O-line will get a second chance on this first point.
Normally you don't see people overshooting into the upwind space, yeah. But plenty of power on that one, no doubt.
Okay, we see Radiance taking another shot. Tight matchup. Oh, and Mary Rippey reels it in.
Guarded by Tori Gray. That'll be a fun matchup.
So give us a chance to see how Radiance works it just outside of the end zone when they've got to make a few passes, not just scoring on a deep look.
Rippey power cut to the four-side cone. Certainly seen that one before.
And that starts the game with 1-0 Radiance.
if I'm Strike, I think that that's a pretty good first point. I'm a little, obviously you'd love to see that get converted, but really competent on offense, look patient. Like you said, they touched both sides of the field. They were able to work it on the flat side. Pretty good D-line into the upwind for your first point of the game. That's got to establish some confidence for your ability to convert those break opportunities, which, given what we've seen so far, we expect maybe they're going to get some opportunities to try to get those breaks.
Yeah, I'd say they'd be pretty happy with that. All right, so let's see what Strike's offense has out here today.
Maybe a little bit early to call, but I do really feel like whichever team is able to huck downwind more effectively is really going to have a big advantage. And for Radiance, that first huck on the flick side, really trying to find the edge, can be a bit of a difficult throw. Certainly allowing a backhand to Mariorby with steps seems like not perhaps the look the defense is trying to allow, and I'm really curious to see what Strike does to kind of create similar opportunities.
Right, yeah.
Damn, tough drop right in the middle of the field, first upfield pass, and now we get a chance to see this Radiance D-line O.
Okay, we see.
An aggressive shot to start. Certainly got some separation, but as we've seen, the thrower's still kind of calibrating to that upwind flick. Ooh, that's a nice around. I like that throw.
This is going to be a deep ball kind of game, at least off to the start. Yeah, just trying to figure out the wind in both directions on those deep looks so far. So Radiance is going to have the whole field to try to work it. This is the position where you do tend to see, is the team going to try to work it, grind it against this wind, or are they going to just boost it for field position and try to get another turn downfield?
Nice under by McKee there. Really power cutting the way through. Certainly seeing the speed on display.
Back to Lyman. Okay, we see maybe a holster on a deep look there. And then we see, a second attempt on that one, but just couldn't quite get there. Strike switch the field, keeping the disc moving. Running an inside to Mexstroth. Okay, a couple easy passes. Little throw and go.
I think one of the things I've noticed so far is that Strike seems really content with a slower cadence of their resets. Happy to get up to, north of stall 5 and let their reset cutters go to work. Seems certainly to be paying off there as a nice little upline continuation of Mexstroth. 2 turn possession holds for both O-lines so far. All knotted up.
Yeah, I think that's a great observation on Strike's sort of patient tempo. I was watching one of their earlier games this season, and it was a little bit different of a story. They were attacking, fast attacking, maybe not playing as much system offense, and just kind of finding the star players and just really aggressively going for it. And I think this is a nice midpoint in the season for them, where we see they've got the pieces, they know what they want to look for, and just being a little bit more patient and controlling that pace.
That reset cadence really can be an identity for a team. I feel like slowly finding what that good level is really helps set the, like we said, cadence. It's timing for everybody downfield, and I think one of the things that on paper that does, and I would argue with what we're seeing so far, is it does make it easier to cut for, because if the timing windows are so small where as soon as somebody gets the disc, you better already be running, a lot of times it can be difficult to hit that window. But for Strike, when a thrower catches the disc and they survey the downfield space, the cutter can say, all right, this thrower has got the disc. I'm now going to cut for them, and they're going to look at me for that time because they've got the chance here. Now, the thing I'm really curious to see is, Radiance, who, as many North Carolina teams, certainly known to have some very good handler defense at times. With that cadence really slowing down, I'm kind of wondering if that reset pressure is going to be able to make a difference for them. Loving this flat side offense. A lot of really good insides.
That is definitely one of the Radiance's strengths, is being able to use that flat side, just march it down. All right.
Looks like another goal for
Another
Mary Rippey.
goal, yeah.
All I'm saying is I'm feeling pretty good wearing my Mary Rippey jersey right now.
Yeah.
Feels like it was a good decision.
It's always a good day to wear that jersey.
What I did notice there was it looked like Strike on that. You mentioned the kind of Radiance handler movement and what can Strike do to kind of slow that down or stop that. And it looked like they did have a little bit of a switchy kind of pick and roll there. I was curious going into this game if they would try to do something like that, knowing that Radiance does typically excel in that kind of small ball space. And yeah, looked like they did a nice little switch there to slow that down.
From a coaching perspective, that flat side switch off of the give and go really, I guess in my experience, has become sort of a new standard for a lot of teams. I find it to be pretty rare to watch, even from sort of college level on up, teams that don't at least attempt to execute that some amount of the time. And as it was sort of taught to me, one of the biggest responsibilities in that switch set is making sure that the mark is stopping down the line continuation there. And obviously easier said than done when it's Q who's an excellent distributor. But I really feel like that was a sort of huge bid.
Not to interrupt you, but that was a fantastic bid by Grace Connerly. See an interesting shot deep, double coverage. Ooh. Now I think this is what people want to see here. We want to see bids. We want to see exciting plays. I think this game has the potential for to be a tight matchup.
It's good to see these players true to their brand. Grace Connerly hitting the deck immediately. That's certainly what you come to expect from her. Looks like Barnett here in the reset to pick up. Oof. Another first possession turnover to rear, just a little high. Now I get to see a little bit of end zone set here. Kind of curious. Well, maybe not exactly the throw that was imagined, but a thrower's touch.
It kind of worked out. It was maybe a little wider than intended, but actually put the disc in a place where the defense had to figure out how to stop that next threat.
And one observation I have as we see this replay here on that tight little inside, and then on that first huck, lots of separation and a good read here, just barely out of reach.
It's kind of that situation where the offense has to think about, am I going to be inbounds or not, and that extra little bit of focus that the defense doesn't have to worry about lets them come in there.
Seeing the speed here.
Yeah, and so you see both in that end zone possession, both Radiance defenders try to collapse on that next continue, but then leave open Emma Peasley.
Revenge game. Emma Peasley revenge game.
That's another good jersey to be wearing at any time.
One thing I'm sort of noticing for Strike here is, as I was mentioning, their cadence of their resets and when they're looking to attack in certain places really causes their reset throwers to have to attack right into the mark. And I think they look really good doing that. That inside flick there, a little bit certainly a challenging throw, but well done.
Here we see Radiance trying to work it up that flat side again. Just a turn on that last of a string of multiple. Ooh. This must be the cursed sideline.
Cursed sideline of that cursed upwind. Wow.
We see, a Radiance throw into traffic.
Good safety play, everybody.
Yeah.
Glad that nobody got their head taken off there. Jenna, they say great throwers throw to space.
instead of receivers.
Throw it. Take this
Throw
with
it where you want your players to go.
earnestly take this with a grain of salt. Jonathan Nethercutt told me throw it to space until your cutters start cutting
Until they
there.
start going there.
In case you were wondering, he has previously led the entire AUDL, now UFA, in turnovers,
Yep.
total number of turnovers. So just go ahead and factor that in.
You know, that is not uncommon to see among some of your, most productive players. Like they're the ones throwing the most assists and breaks and everything, but also the other side of the coin on that one.
Shoot to get hot, shoot to stay hot.
All right, so we see the teams trading points here. There have been break opportunities, but as far as I know, we've just been holding so far. So we're going to see if on this 5th point of the game anything different happens.
That's a nice upwind pull.
Yeah, one of the deeper pulls we've seen so far.
To orient you viewers on the direction of the wind, because it's basically top right of your screen to bottom left. So that previous backhand turnover from Rippey, a little bit of a crosswind look, which is why it dropped so quickly. And I think that's part of what's causing some of these upwind flicks from the left of the screen to the right to really sail. They come out with a little bit of an IO edge, really can catch that extra space and just go to the moon. Key marking Mexroth again. Ooh, high reset.
Yeah. I'm thinking that let's see this one. Ended. Yep, another strike goal. That's a hold. I think we're seeing Radiance forcing a backhand, and possibly the strategy there is to force that. Most of these throwers are right-handed throwers, so when you're forcing down to this downwind side, it's going to push the disc down, but also it makes that break around throw, that flick for most of these players kind of pop up a little bit more into that wind. And we've seen that on a couple of these swings, and some of them are coming down, but that one kind of floated over a bit. So we're at 3-3.
One other interesting observation I've sort of noticed so far is it really seems that both of these offenses are able to create high-quality offensive looks off of their pull play pretty consistently. Some of that may be that they're going downwind, but I feel like we haven't seen really any defensive pressure from either side. Not any. We haven't seen effective defensive pressure on either side really until past half field. Now, some of that is we're really not seeing most pullers be able to attack, that upwind pull with a lot of effectiveness, but
I think that's a great observation. These teams are completing many passes to get down this field, and maybe part of that is the defenses. There we go. Defenses backing a little bit in that direction, and to try to take away those potential deep looks and kind of allowing a lot of under continuations. So there we see another Radiance hold.
Strike not getting the scouting report. Don't ever let Caitlin Gross throw a high backhand, or she will make you pay. Fun little anecdote. During 2020, I was playing a lot of mini with Caitlin, and we collectively as a unit, stopped playing any force middle because the team that Caitlin was on was just catching free goals
hitting it every time
on both sides.
Yeah.
So we learned our lesson.
That's a good adjustment then.
Really curious to see if there's any sort of junk, rolling handlers in the lanes kind of set. My coaching senses are tingling, saying that might be a decent look.
It does feel like the time of the game, the time of the quarter, where it's just you're trading back and forth points. You're getting some opportunities, but maybe not, totally closing it out. It's kind of the time to, maybe try something a little different, see if you can shake up the other team's offense. So it does look like a little bit of a brackety thing happening downfield.
Huge boost from Exroth.
2.
Pretty good touch. Nice, D.
A great interception by Nibs. Radiance moving it quickly. Let's see if Strike's O-line can generate a turn to get that second shot. Ooh, we see some great tight defense there, forcing Barnett to bail out a little bit downfield. And then you just got to let Jay-Z make plays sometimes. That looks not in. Oh, that's a pick signal.
Lucky for the front of the stack defender. Looked like there may have been a free goal in process there. Excellent reset defense for Strike and a little bit of a, ashes to ashes situation. There's that punt. Jay-Z able to make the play on what is undeniably a stall 9, stall 8 throw. Definitely the best break chance that either team has had so far, but now Radiant's opportunity to give it a shot once again. Looks like a timeout called, I think, signaled to be Strikes. So Radiant's here to pick up, going to half field. I think I'd be talking in this huddle and saying, all right, Radiance, we've really been able to create separation in our downfield spaces, just not at the same time that the handlers are looking upfield, finding ways to kind of clarify a little bit and make sure that the resets are available so that the field can be switched. As we see, get another look at that Jay-Z stand still sky there. I mean, some kind of athlete Jay-Z is certainly.
Yeah, it almost looked like on that end zone possession, maybe just not getting set up into those dump spots, confidently and on time. All right, so it does look like Radiance subbed in on more of an offensive line. Try to get this break. Okay.
And what a power cutter Jenny Way is. Just able to win those open side unders.
Yep. Now you can't always see the downfield on the stream, but
A huge hut going up. Jenny Way in the area.
Great block by Strike. Yeah, that was it. That's exciting. We got both Jenny Way and a CBC downfield.
Pretty appealing deep target, I would say.
Okay, let's see if Strike can have the patience to work this full field. This is now the Radiance O-line that came in off the sub, having to play defense here. Okay, we got another exciting opportunity. Great bid, but great focus by Strike, and then just another throw into the goal. I think our score on the broadcast isn't quite up to date, but that'll bring it to 4-4. We're kind of in the last bits of this first quarter.
Yeah, Strike defender really had position the whole time, had a good read on it. Difficult to get into those piles of two. One theme that I've noticed, and I think this is a hats off to the Radiance D-line, is on most hucks that have gone up, we've seen two defenders in the area.
Yeah. A double coverage.
Obviously a little hard to point to the stats of the game overall. In that last one, you really hope to get that block there, but I think that the deep defense has overall been pretty solid. Another pull upwind for Strike, pretty solid. or solid offense off the pull play.
Mm-hmm. Takes a deep shot, and yep, just great positioning by that strike defender. Made that kind of an easy block. But like you pointed out with Radiance, Strike had a 2-on-1 matchup there.
Looks like Strike coaching getting a timeout call here. Try to set themselves up to get this break before the end of the quarter.
So in this situation, Strike will be picking up the disc. There's 5 seconds left on the clock. They're going to want to, try to just make a conservative run at this and try to be that last score on the end of the first quarter. They will be able to play out the possession, but as soon as it's a turn, that will end. Or a goal, I should say. It looks like we're actually back up to 9 seconds on the clock. Real time. All right, so Radiance looking to get a stop here. There's enough time. Would you say there's enough time that if Radiance got a stop here, they could potentially get this goal in?
Potentially. And I think for first quarter, I'm not so sure that the coaching staff is going to say, our goal here is to create a block in the next 9 seconds. Maybe really just saying, whatever it is, staying down here on this side.
Yeah.
Which is also into the upwind, and judging by the whipping of the flag, it looks like we're maybe even a slightly windier than we've been in the game so far.
Yeah. That is a tough corner to bring the disc in on. Sort of that flat sideline into the wind. Dump has pretty tight coverage at the moment.
And Alex Barnett, renowned for an excellent handler defense.
Okay, they're going to try a little bounce there, see if they can hit the upfield connection. We see some Radiance defense flashing the lane.
And Revere really hunting for those unders.
And then I think, yeah, exactly. I think Radiance Mark there got a piece of that.
Good pressure.
And the pressure, just couldn't quite get past the 20, 30-yard point.
Yeah, shout out to Revere on that one. A number of those little switches, and the only real counter for the offensive player there is to go deep, which we've seen all game. That upfield look a little bit unappealing. Thanks for tuning in for us here in the first quarter. This live broadcast is brought to you by the Premier Ultimate League. PUL is a 501c6 nonprofit. This league has been community funded since day one, and we're so grateful for this sport. We ask you please consider donating to help us continue to transform and fulfill our mission. Head to premierultimateleague.com to donate today. All right, so all knotted up at the end of the first half. Certainly a back and forth, relatively evenly matched. Excited to see what the second quarter kind of has in store for us here.
Yeah, do you think there's any big adjustment that either team needs to make to, try to build a little bit of that break momentum?
I'm so glad you asked. The first thing that I would observe is it seems like the flick hooks in both directions, neither team has really seemed super able to do that. So I'm very curious to see if that's a handle, a strategy is trying to grab a hold of. We've been talking about Strike's reset patterns. I think they're doing a really good job. They're very comfortable with what they do, so they're authentically themselves in that way. One observation that I do have for the Radiance side is it seems like the secondary reset is clearing up line sometimes, and that's sometimes on the flat side and sometimes on the trap side. But in multiple cases, like on that Alex Barnett sort of high stall situation, and I think maybe one other, ended up where when those reset defenders were doing a really good job, the Strike reset defenders, we were ending up with the thrower being a little bit abandoned. So I think there's maybe a little bit of kind of tuning up to be done there. And those kind of junk sets, like both of these teams have looked really dynamic coming out of out of their pull play sets. They look like they're getting what they want. So I'm really curious to see if there's some combination of flat marks, handlers rolled into the lane, maybe even a cheeky little zone set.
Yeah.
It's windy out here. I'm just saying it could happen.
Yeah, that'd be fun to see. Just kind of make those offensive lines think a little bit differently. See how they adjust to different looks.
I will say, at this point, it does seem a little bit like these D-lines are going to need to complete a huck to score. I think in every D-line O possession, with the exception of Strikes, their first possession of the game, their D-line O first possession of the game, seems like not able to really generate that good momentum moving upfield, with the exception of that, that huck that Jay-Z was able to bring down.
Yeah. So this will actually be, an interesting look here. We've got Radiance coming out on defense, but now on, the working downwind side of the field. So Minnesota's offense will have to work the upfield, which is the first for an O-line so far this game.
For sure. Very curious to see. I think, Radiance has certainly shown they've got some speed in the downfield space, if we're going to see a little bit of fronting to begin with.
You kind of see Audrey Lyman there in the defensive space for those first couple looks, kind of flashing the under. Okay.
Bodies to the floor. Seems like everybody healthy there.
Yep. Always good to see. Oh. Looks like maybe her cleat almost got caught there in the turf or something.
Potentially. Good mark activity, I think, from Strike. One way of watching teams play that I think is really fun is what do they like to do on offense, and then how do they're spending time practicing against themselves. And we've been talking about the Strike handlers really looking to square up at a mark, at maybe one beat later than some of the Radiance handlers are perhaps used to. And their marks look like they're used to that. The marking activity is really high, lots of active hands, moving the feet a lot, and maybe a little bit of discomfort there from the ball movers for Radiance. As we see our first upwind, not a hold, just barely out of bounds.
What I liked there was, kind of a few throws before that last one. We saw Radiance kind of wrapping a little bit on the marks. They're trying to stop those around swings to keep Strike from moving the disc from side to side. But Strike was actually able to, instead of throw the around, take advantage of kind of the more open inside space to still hit their reset there, which then made the Radiance defense have to spread out a bit more. Radiance will get their shot.
Nice under there.
A little bit low, a little bit outside. Turn for Radiance, so Strike will get their get another go at it. This is a longer point to start this first quarter. I think no team is willing to give up that run to be the first to 5. Okay. Well-timed continue cut for that handler swing. Looking out deep. Just over the Radiance defender. Ooh, just short. Give it to a confident Mextroth on the line. Ooh, and a bobble, but ends in a goal.
The ends justify the means, Jenna. If you catch it, that's a reception. Bobbles aside.
It only counts as one thing on the stat sheet.
Yeah, that's not an assist and a goal. It's just a goal. I really want to shout out Hannah Betcher's been doing a lot of work for really any line that she's on, and it's specifically that thing I was shouting out Jenny Wave for, just the ability to get into isolation, put your head down, and make an easy throw for your receiver. That sort of momentum is something we haven't quite seen from these D-line offenses yet, and momentum has to start from rest, and Hannah, able to win those isolation cuts. A shame that next continuation didn't quite pan out, but I feel like Radiance is sort of their D-line offense, like kind of poking around, like what's the right way to start this possession? Are we going to like try to get an under? I think that flat side under defense was really quite good there from the Strike O-line as well.
And now Strike will have the chance to get this downwind pull, see if their defense can get a stop here and maybe a short field possession.
I'm really curious to see what Radiance O-line, which is so good on the flat side in the downwind, is going to look. Sometimes having that high stall, pressure release, being able to put those high backhands down the line. But I like this defensive set right away. Good problem solving by Tyler Smith, though, to get it to CBC.
A very, very good adjustment by those cutters to pull out the Strike defenders. Ooh, what a block.
Half run through, half layout gets the job done.
Just be sure. That is an unfortunate turn.
If you're a Strike fan.
Yeah, I guess so. It's going to give Radiance the short field and, an easy dish pass to who?
Mary Rippey.
There she is.
Camera's not on me, but I'm holding my jersey up.
Yep.
Speed kills.
She's got 3 of the 5 goals so far for the Radiance side. Okay, so we saw, both long points, offenses having to work it against the wind, not having quick successes, but, a turn each, and then the defensive lines getting their chances, but not able to really get it more than half field, I think. So we're going to keep playing this game of trade-off.
Yeah, and I want to go back to the thing I was mentioning earlier. I think from a coaching perspective, really good choice to adjust for the Strike side, trying to have some of those like little junky set. And I mean, my favorite is, especially from up here where you can see the field so well, is just kind of seeing that chess match, that little back and forth. And there's a reason why Radiance has been centering up to Tyler Smith for a good long while now, and all that experience really able to help her kind of find that weak spot, trust that I'm gonna find an under here that's good quality, and then shout out to the rest of the Radiance O-line for once they had that momentum, really not giving it up. Able to find the next spaces, follow their throws, and kind of eat up most of the field, and without really getting above stall 3.
So a couple of big yardage gainers for Strike. Very nice. So just a kind of flat, fast, shot into the wind, but was just able to get beyond that Radiance defender.
I mean, I don't know about you. That seems like probably maybe the best flick that's just been thrown in this game so far.
Yeah.
And like Mark certainly there present. Good, like sits out of the winds, and I definitely want to shout out Emma Poirier, who's just been really doing work for Strike. That layout or that block on the under over there, that was Emma, and been matching up with some of Radiance open field speed like Claire Revere, and certainly an asset to her team so far.
Yeah, the nice thing about that throw is just like almost not giving it too much air. We think the wind is certainly blowing, 10 yards above the ground. So the more air you put under that, the more likely it's going to just kind of get taken one way or the other.
So all we got continuing to get our upwind holds. These O-lines, dust their shoulders off, not so worried about it. Clean little knee slide there from Caitlin. Good pressure on all these unders here. Jenny Way shooting upwind to Rippey. Kind of unguarded. Looks like there's some kind of injury call, I'm going to guess. Having been out here on this turf before, Jen, I can say a full-bore knee slide into it,
It's unpleasant.
it's pretty unpleasant.
That's right.
Not that any turf is remarkably pleasant to be knee sliding into, but I see and I feel you for taking the sub on that one. Still plenty of steps for Rippy. Kind of curious if Jenny Way going to throw this again.
I think smart there for the strike to kind of jump over and stop that look. But you see the Radiance being pretty dynamic, able to fill in. You know, maybe Rippy's a cutter typically, but now we see her in the backfield space.
Nice grab from Tyler.
Mm-hmm.
I think we're seeing a force middle setup here for strike, which I think is really good. We talked about those.
Great read, yeah.
And that's so frustrating as a defender.
It is, yeah.
Because there were a number of unders here on this close side of the screen, really hotly contested, like nice grabs. And that, as a defense, is really what you're trying to do, right? Make it difficult. And we're seeing those pressures there. If that throw is on target, that's maybe that's potentially a D. But great adjustment from Caitlin, sassy little butt spike on the end, and that's another goal here for the Radiance. All knotted up, all holds.
Yep.
I'm starting to think we were maybe making too big of a deal of this win. It was looking a little bit messy there in the first quarter, but these O-lines are finding a way to get it done out here.
That's right. Yeah, they're tracking things down. They're, getting little dishes where they can. A couple of these goals were no more than, maybe a yard pass. They're figuring it out. And, you kind of see that. It only takes a couple points to really dial it in when you're at this level of play.
The thing I'm most interested in is it's not like they've been like, that throw isn't possible. Like, that's not going to work out. Even though some of these have missed by enough that you're like, that doesn't inspire a great deal of confidence. But, I mean, we've seen a couple, like, just two in a row here, like, really nice ones. I would love Strike to keep running middle. I think it's very interesting now, like a great counter by Tyler on that last one. But I think that they look like they're kind of creating some good leverage there. More good pull play offense here from these teams.
Strike really likes this bounce move, and then there's always a continue.
Looks like Radiance with quite flat marks. Like, I think they're force middle. Nice flick hook here.
Great read, great grab. And then that second strike receiver just wide open there in the unguarded. Easy goal. After a great catch under defensive pressure, that next pass was just a easy goal.
And a lot of space on the mark to get that one off.
Mm-hmm.
Plenty of touch, plenty of time.
A lot of space, yeah.
Good to see these teams kind of hitting their stride. Now that's a pretty confident looking hold with a lot of motion.
Mm-hmm.
No turns. Good for confidence. Hopefully they can that Strike O-line can really continue to build off of that. I tell you what, with the way that these teams have been able to eat up unders when they're open, I think the area of the chessboard I'm most curious about right now is how are we approaching the deep looks as a defense? Is this something that we're actually really worried about, or do we think they're going to regress to the mean? Because certainly for both these teams, allowing free unders seems like a pretty bad idea.
Mm-hmm.
Rippy available there for a bailout.
Yeah, we saw Strike doing some interesting defensive work there to really stop Radiance from getting their first pull look, making those handlers and cutters make that smart adjustment.
Yeah, and I think perhaps from the same defender, but certainly from the same position, two poaches after clears off of the trap side, where those defenders are looking to get into the upline space, and that certainly is not super appealing to look at. Wow, really seeing the wheels from Tori Gray there. Let's go, Carlton. Got a rep. Now we get a chance here for a downwind break. I like this, really like this initial positioning from Rippy here, looking to provide some support. Dang, and another first throw turn. And I think that is really part of this this momentum issue for these D-lines is they're, with the marking pressure and the way that the, downfield defenders for the offense are, or for the O-line, I suppose, the opposing O-line, are really making the easy, appealing looks unavailable, means that those cuts to, or those throws to maintain and generate that momentum are really quite difficult to start. But they're going to get another shot at it here. It's like CBC just unable to hold on to that one.
Looks like a timeout. We see players coming on the field. Probably, each side had a couple possessions there, so not a bad time for one side to call a timeout and get fresh legs on. Fresh legs, like fresh eyes. What can a new line see?
So for this Radiance D-line, as we're getting another shot at this last possession here, right, shooting to Smith, and Torrey Gray really able to make up that ground. Similar sort of edge and shape to some of those flicks we've seen, and just an excellent play by the defender there. I think on that strike turnover, perhaps a little bit of a miscommunication here, and I'm sure that for this possession here, that we're really Radiance fans around the world hoping to have that one back just outside the end zone on the upwind side. It's a bit of a backbreaker, but opportunity to get it back here. And like we said, we've seen this. We've certainly seen the Radiance D-line able to force turnovers, and now even with their O-line on the field there, another kind of first throw turn, like that last cutter option, not super appealing. There's some more of that off clear poaching, that time from Nextroff, ultimately results in a turnover.
Okay, so even with these new lines out here, we're not, I think each team is putting on, enough pressure that nothing's going to be easy at this point. Surely I say that, and then Emma Peasley's wide open there. Okay, we see a... Oh, I really thought that was going to be it. I thought that was going to be the strike break.
I mean, shout out to Jay-Z coming from the backside help. And again,
I like the look, though.
I see you, Radiance D-line, with your weak side help being all kinds of active.
Looks like we've got another timeout.
Starting to feel like this is the importance of this point here is for at least for emotional reasons really increasing as these numbers of turnovers and I don't even necessarily think that this is a conditions or a throwers thing. I think both teams defensively really sensing kind of the importance of winning this marathon point. That first break.
Yeah, the battle for the break.
One of the teams I played on previously, and I thought that this was a really fun piece of identity to rally around, is just we tell ourselves we win every marathon point. And the kind of confidence that gives you, where it's like we're totally unbothered by how many turns there are because we just always know we're going to work harder. I feel like that sort of fighter's attitude here is something we're really seeing on display from both these teams.
Strike putting quite a lot of pressure on that first look. Radiance able to move it upfield. You see Strike mostly sitting, a step under the Radiance receivers downfield.
Stock looking a little bit deep.
Tyler Smith looking for a deep look off of that strike cut. Wasn't quite there, but able to find Rippey in the middle. Radiance is breezing now.
And another goal for Mary Rippey. Woo!
So there will, if I remember correctly, that
Was a hold?
that was a hold, right?
It's been a minute, but that was a hold.
That was another hold.
Um,
No breaks to be had yet.
For your next installment in chess match updates, that little find on the inside space to Rippey, I think that's like the next kind of move back from the Radiance side, where we're really seeing when, and you know, in the upwind offense, Radiance going upwind, Strike playing defense, they're showing that they're really keen to stop guarding cutters when they clear on the trap side and really try to hang around into that high value space. And we saw a turnover on one of the turnovers on this point happen as a direct result of that kind of poach. And Mary sitting down on that little inside, right, immediately jailbreaks the whole offense afterwards, since she's able to advance it sort of behind that poaching to the other side of the field. And you know, that's really been a theme for Radiance's. When they get momentum, they don't really give it back.
Yeah. We're going to jump right into this Radiance pull.
It's a good one. Far side corner.
Yeah. And we do like to see Strike, you know, break to that around to that upwind side. Noticed.
Way open again.
Yeah, that was great pressure by Marnette there. She was right for lockstep, just in time for that interception. Way looking for the right look downfield. Is this going to be one? Maybe playing a little bit more conservative, holstering some of those deep looks. Just kidding. Byers on defense there, just kind of getting that, you know, you think J-Way's out there, you know, going deep, but then you've got a Byers there right there, foot for foot, kind of getting out in front of her.
I mean, from the booth, you just hope that that's a straight up jump ball, because Byers versus J-Way, that's prime time TV
that's
right
what we're
there.
here for. Nice movement to the offside. You know, Strike was their offense was starting to collapse a little bit there on this close sideline, but just that break and that swing up really spread their offense back out.
All right, opportunity here for Radiance D-line to earn the disc back. Thing to pay attention to for both teams, when they've been able to move the disc horizontally near the end zone set, they've looked so dangerous. And it's especially this sort of cascading from the flat side all the way down. Wow, huge layout, able to keep the feet in, and a little bit of spike if you don't mind.
That was, Stephanie Rupp there. She was, you know, really quarterbacking a lot of that offense, too. We've seen her be a key piece for this line, keeping the disc moving, hitting those arounds, but then, you know, also there to make those athletic plays under that defensive presence.
And so with this flick to J-Way here, it's specifically that inside edge on the away flicks. Lots of throwers really used to any throw, you know, on the flick side where you really let it go, that it's going to turn over for you. But in this downwind, those are really fading out the right. And I don't think we've yet seen kind of a completed flick. There have been some that were outside in, but they were, you know, maybe not quite calibrated correctly. But that has certainly been the most common mechanism of failure for flicks in that direction.
Yeah. And it's similar but opposite problem on the other side of the field. The flicks we've seen kind of going, you know, to the right-hand side of the screen, when that little bit of outside-in edge is lifted up towards the wind here, it is kind of dropping it down, or making it blade in a little bit more than maybe normal. conditions. So we are at halftime. That came up fast. You know, some of those points were long, but this has been a back and forth game.
Come on, Brad!
about time to get it. It's about time, I forget it. It's about time. Never gonna get up, never get up now. Never gonna stop now. Whoa, you roll with me. Whoa, you roll with me. Whoa, you roll with me. Whoa, you roll with me.
You'll never hold me back, so you can watch me go. You'll witness my comeback. I'm a phenomenon. You'll never hold me back, so now you can watch me go. Yeah, this is my.
We're getting ready to restart the action here at the Durham Memorial County Stadium. We're at halftime, Radiance 7, Strike 8, in a very close game so far. So I wanted to take this time to give a shout out to Magnanimous Mouse and the Cuttlefish. Magnanimous and the Cuttlefish is a team that promotes identity before purpose. We engage in community advocacy, hold affinity spaces, and implement transparent committee-based leadership. Our focus on promoting racial, gender, and socioeconomic equity fosters a sense of belonging that strengthens our competitive success. We also wanted to give a couple thank yous to the LGBTQ Center of Durham, the Durham Queer Sports Resource Generation, and Rainbow Collective for Change for joining us today. To learn more about dozens of LGBTQ organizations, resources, artists, and more, check out the LGBTQ Center of Durham Resources webpage or reach out to Magnanimous. This has just been a nice collaboration between the Radiance and Magnanimous these last couple of years, where they help us to bring in an LGBTQ resource fair for our local community here. The Radiance would also like to show appreciation to O2 Fitness for their support of our athletes. Whether it's group fitness classes or personal training, O2 has the fit for you. With gym locations in Chapel Hill, Durham, and Raleigh, there's an O2 Fitness Club convenient for you. And for all of those watching online, I'm sure there's an O2 Fitness nearby in your city as well.
A little bit of sun peeking out here to begin our second half action.
Yeah. And kind of never knew, showing up to this game whether to expect a downpour. That felt like it could be in the cards, or the sun to come peeking out. There are a lot of clouds here. You just weren't quite sure what was going to turn out. That sun probably feels pretty nice. Temperatures are still pretty even, 70s out there today. Like you said at the beginning of the game, just a really, kind of a beautiful day to play Ultimate. We see Strike's defense once again pulling downwind. Radiance O to work it up the field.
Nice throw up here for Jenny Way with loads of position. In between two defenders, not quite in.
Strike doing a good job taking the next options. Really good collapsing on those continues. I'm not sure if the mark shifted out of position there to kind of open up that easy pass for Smith. Maybe was trying to just take away a force side, but it kind of looked like she jumped out of the way a little bit there.
Yeah, I was just about to suggest some sort of miscommunication. Looks like it's there. And upwind Huck. Jenny Way comfortably with position in between two Strike defenders. Good pressure.
Almost dropped it there. Yeah, almost intentionally dropped it without knowing she was in the goal. I like that look from Katie Bacchus. We don't often see her making those deep looks, but she's such a great initiating cutter that you want her to be able to have that opportunity, especially when you've got a Jenny Way or someone else, taking that deep space.
Right, and again, in this, as we're tracking the Jenny Way, famous, about to make somebody's day.
Yeah, who snuck on the sideline for an autograph in the middle of the game? Oh, this one's going out to the audience.
It's too bad the press box windows aren't open. A laser beam picked up.
Yeah, the action. Yeah, the action is starting on the field.
On and off the field.
On and off the field. Okay. We see a backhand force in this direction, I think, for the first time.
And I want to shout out Alex Barnett, who, one of the things we've been saying is that Strike has looked so dangerous when they're getting their pull play, which they have gotten really frequently, and Barnett able to help off an inactive cutter to kind of gum that up.
Yeah. I wonder if this Radiance defensive adjustment came because unfortunate turn there. Prior to that, Strike had been so proficient at breaking the mark up to that side of the field. Oh, wow. Great opportunity there for Grace Connerly picking it up to send it deep to a wide open receiver. I guess just out of her reach.
Yeah, well, nobody has ever accused Grace of not having enough power on her backhand.
Of short balling it, yeah. Oh, what
another great poach from Barnett.
Yeah, high IQ play there.
She was wearing the cutoff sweats. She'd have 2 goals already.
Thinking this is, the time of the game where in that halftime huddle, there've got to be a couple players in there, and I think Barnett is one of them. Maybe Grace Connerly is one of them too, who just says, you know what, I need to step it up. I need to dial it in a little bit.
Take out your toolbox.
Yep.
Time to do it yourself.
What's it going to take to get that break, to take the lead of this game, to take control, to build a gap?
I mean, kind of a quick little bang play here for the Radiance D-line. That this crossfield turnover.
Yeah.
A little bit inside. Not out of the question here, right? An immediate shoot, and as much as this didn't work out, and obviously as a D-line, you'd love to be able to get that throw to connect. This field possession game, because these teams really haven't been able to advance, really seems to help out. And yeah, savvy play by Barnett. On that first possession, I was shouting out. She was able to kind of gum up and specifically because it's upwind, it's really hard for the offense to punish. Gets a little bit bold and comes.
Fewer looks moving against that wind in that corner position. makes those kind of sneaky poaches in there very enticing for a defender like Barnett.
Alrighty, so a little bit of momentum, good pole coverage, and a little bit short, but lands out near the sideline. Curious to see what sort of momentum we can get going on here. Looks like somebody kind of unguarded in the end zone.
Oh, I love it. Yeah.
I'm gonna go ahead and guess. I think that was towed in. Yep.
Yeah, I think that yellow line is not the back that we see. Is not quite the back of the end zone. There's a few more yards beyond it. I like that look.
Yep, certainly a good look. Seems to be a miscommunication for the Radiance downfield defenders in that scenario. Not exactly what you're going for to sustain momentum, but they got that one break, and as much as there have been turnovers, these teams have looked really evenly matched. So
yeah,
are certainly a exciting and momentum building kind of play, but chance for Strike to answer back here.
Yeah, Strike was certainly not shaken at all by that last Radiance block and score. They came out and handled that pretty confidently. So now it's going to be their defense here to get the chance to win that break back. Let's see if they do anything, kind of out of the ordinary creative. So far, Radiance downfield and handlers have been good at kind of adjusting on the fly. Okay, and so this pull sails out of bounds. Bring it to the middle.
Both these teams have really been running 32 or 23 style sets off their pull plays a lot, which is really interesting because oftentimes you'll find if teams run similar pull plays, those defenses, which are used to guarding them in practice, are really able to take away what they want. But and it may very well be that just a lot of these throwers are so good that when they know what looks they're thinking about throwing and they're about to throw, the mark just isn't really able to challenge that enough to take it away. Because a lot of these initiations have been to the break side.
Yep. And you saw it right there with Titcomb starting that motion off with a great around flick break up to Katie Bacchus. Radiance just on the doorstep here.
So real key for Strike here, I think, is trying to keep the ball on this side of the field. Right? They've looked pretty good defensively when they're able to stop that momentum from building, that horizontal momentum from building. And I'd be thinking as Radiance, let's really try to get this ball off the line.
And yeah, not quite there yet. Right on the line. Strike doing an excellent job here making, Radiance, not giving them their first look, making them really have to work through it, be patient.
Yeah, I think that's a great defensive possession from Strike there. And kind of an unreal little, dropping it directly in the basket from Smith here. Immediately between two defenders. If that throw is even off by 6 inches, that's probably a block there.
Yep. Yeah, I liked what Walby was doing there. She was really kind of flashing into the space. The marks were doing a pretty good job keeping Radiance to this side of the field, making them work it in small spaces. Then the defense downfield could really clutter those each initiating cut that was coming in, and kind of force the handlers to do a little bit of that give go themselves.
Right. And one kind of factor I think it's really interesting across teams is if you're sort of scouting well and knowing your opponent well, a lot of times it can be pretty clear who is active, like what's the distribution of looks for people in the end zone set, and it's very clear for Radiance that they are looking to throw it to the handlers, and I think you can see a good response from Strike, really trying to bring down extra traffic and crowd those looks that they're trying to score with.
So another deep ball go up.
Wow, absolute dot from, I believe, as Byers. I think that's probably the first away flick huck we've seen going in that direction completed, and that is a dot. Like, absolutely
That's
hits the
pretty
receiver
textbook,
directly
yeah.
in the hands. And even though there's a little bit of that sort of back IO fade, the throw has enough spin and enough power that it doesn't take the edge away, and that strike receiver certainly plenty of speed to spare.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love getting to see Byers coming in there and taking a little bit more of that initiating role. She typically seems to be more of a continuation cutter, great end zone receiver, but getting to see her come in and be that initiator who then puts it deep is always a fun shot for a dynamic player like that.
And I love the word dynamic. That's exactly what's in my head. Byers somebody that you're trying to keep into small space as often as possible, and if she starts uncorking throws like that, that's bad news for the defense.
Here we are at 10-10. Still a lot of quarter left.
Little short and back to, unfortunately, it seems like on the field we've sort of gotten back into that little trap away flick that's a little too IO and doesn't quite have the pace. Rippy and Gray kind of going at it in the underspace there.
Mm-hmm. It's going to be an uncontested foul. See Radiance in that backhand force again. Ooh, another high contact play.
Looks like Gray maybe not calling anything on the basis of it being potentially over her head.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So we see strike. Every time they're getting it on that trap sideline over there, they're looking to get it back to the middle of the field. Okay, we see a
timeout call, I think.
I think so.
Sure seems that way.
Mm-hmm.
So another break chance at half field for a strike to even this one up.
Yeah, so that possession started with a little bit of an overthrow on the Radiance look, taking some different midfield looks, and then strike looking, D-line looking to maybe fast break it upfield, but I think the Radiance's offense did a good job kind of stopping that momentum, put enough pressure on to force this into a timeout and maybe switch the lines out here. So while we have a minute here, I wanted to share a message from the Raleigh Radiance. We, the players of Raleigh Radiance, wholeheartedly support the LGBTQIA+ community. Raleigh Radiance is committed to providing a space where women matching players can thrive. In particular, we recognize the barriers that transgender women face, from legislation to social discrimination, and we want to affirm our support for transgender inclusion in sports. Furthermore, we are committed to fostering a supportive and inclusive culture within our team and in the broader Triangle Ultimate community, especially for our youth Ultimate players. So great message there from the team. Strike's going to start in a horizontal stack to try to build some momentum, maybe a different look than the vertical they've been running a lot. Okay.
Wow, beautiful
All right.
upwind backhand. And that's a tough punish there. Lyman, really selling out on the unders, which in that, last few yards of playing field, exactly where you'd like to be taking away. And I think we've actually seen that counter a number of times. Unfortunately, not on the cut, not on the screen here.
Mm-hmm.
But certainly as a defender, not perhaps what you're used to see an offensive player initiate an undercut within 10 yards of the sideline and then go deep again within 10 yards of the sideline and see that throw go up.
Yeah, that was a smart throw by Poyer.
she was looking for her resets there to get it off the line, and I think the Radiance handler defenders there were doing a good job not giving those easy reset options. So, the smart player that she is, she looked to the end zone, saw a receiver going, and just put it out to space, like you said, punishing the Radiance defense.
I'm a little bit interested to see, are we going to see, from my eyes, those flick forces have really netted more turnovers than backhand forces. I think we've seen from both teams more of those backhands that are like, man, that kind of destroys the defensive set. Like if you're able to outlet pressure in that way with those backhands, it really is deflating for the defense. So I'd be curious to see if we're going to see maybe more just backhand forces.
CBC able to come down with that one. Oh, I think we see maybe a potential offensive foul call here.
Some sort of contact with Tyler Smith and Elliot Fireside Ostergaard.
Oh, what a block.
A little bit of momentum on those up lines, and Strike really demonstrating some open field speed across multiple points in this game so far.
Yeah, that was an exciting thing to watch. We saw Baco kind of push up field, through her defender and get a great up line, but then that Johnson came in from Strike to get that quick block.
Wow, huge huck from Gray.
It's a big opportunity for Strike here. Tries to catch it, tries to read it in right into the hand there, but just can't quite get the trailing edge of it, and it bounces away.
I mean, for those of you who follow Tori Gray, certainly seeing flicks of that size uncorked is not a first, but even on this field, right, that's an impressive shot. I like the edge choice. I think maybe just caught a little bit more.
Yeah. I like the angle on that.
A good reset pressure from Strike here, and looking like another opportunity here to put it in short field.
Really got to work out for Johnson's inside flick here if you're Radiance. Oh, and a miscue gives Radiance a chance. And Tyler is going to look for field position a little bit here, I think. Gotta Zeus striking deep, never a bad option, but I think that one was ultimately, let's get it out of this end zone. See if we can get a block again midfield. Looks like a timeout, maybe get a D line out here. O-line for Strike.
We've seen some plays that defend, shall we say, field position based offense here. I don't necessarily hate it. Certainly,
yeah.
I'd be pretty nervous watching, because Strike's end zone offense, I think, has probably looked a little bit better than Radiance's. They look a little bit more comfortable, getting them out of that set and forcing them to kind of go from this. And it is really, for both teams, that last half of the playing field proper, the transition between sort of pull play offense and flow offense into your end zone set, that's looked the weakest.
Yeah, in a lot of cases in this game, is it a huck transition into that end zone where you're catching up and trying to get your dump set, get your downfield set. Oh, that was almost an amazing grab.
Those are the ones, taped to the locker door. Be wishing you made it onto SportsCenter top 10.
Yeah.
Huge away boost. Good help defense from Revere. Strike has certainly shown a lot of confidence in their deep receivers, but I gotta say, putting it up between Jay-Z and Claire Revere is maybe not the most encouraging. And good D from Poirier again over there. Upline clear is going on. Now we get this chance to see just another little kind of inside turnover, a little bit too high. I mean, Barnett in good position, but we would probably expect that to be completed. Looks like a timeout has been called. I'm not sure if it was before the turnover. I think they're signaling that it's a Radiance timeout, so I believe we're going to get another breather here before getting shot on this other opportunity here.
Yeah, I'm curious to see what lines we'll see on this change out. You know, that those lines weren't on for very long. You know, they had mostly just come in, and I think when I look at that Radiance line that you know, came out on defense, I see a lot of very strong. You've got a Revere there, you've got a Lyman, a lot of really strong players there that can certainly work it up this field. But it does look like we'll change out the lines again, so we'll get more of a traditional Radiance offense here. The Tyler Smith to pick up. And we're starting with, it looks like Claire Bettigary Curtis and Katie Bacchus are kind of out in that isolation space, which you can't see on the screen yet, but that's what's going on. Okay.
Or good pressure.
Radiance turn, and Strike looks to just send it right away. That, I think that throw might have been a little rushed. Might have been okay to, you know, look for a lateral pass there, swing it, you know, switch the field a little bit.
There's a coach somewhere on the broadcast yelling chili and screaming at the TV.
That's me for sure. This is some great strike pressure to keep Radiance from hitting these upfield continues, and not surprised to see a huge backhand from Titcomb looking to get it out of that end zone. Radiance just can't quite bring that one down with the defense there. All right, so now let's see, can we see the Strike Chili offense? They have a little bit more of a chance to set up here. This is a high pressure point. We're at 10-11.
That's really nice inside there.
This feels like that point a few ago where it was like no line is giving up, no side is giving up. Both need to score, both want to score. And there we go.
Titcomb earning it back.
Always does. Bach is getting some pretty high mileage in this game. Might be up line to Titcomb. Does this have enough air under it? It does.
Wow. Beautiful, beautiful from Titcomb. Certainly a master of backhands. That one really seems like the legs come into play for Strike. I mean,
two timeouts that point. Yep.
Marathon, lots of turns. Even that last set of possessions here after the timeout, you know, a bunch of there and backs, and just, you know, a decision made by Titcomb that I'm gonna get this block and I'm gonna win this up line. I'm gonna make it happen myself.
Yeah.
So helpful to have. But yeah, great pressure all around. I definitely feel like Strike, when they're able to get set, you know, off of the pull plays, when they're covering the pull, Radiance has looked really good. Starting from a dead disc there, I thought the Strike defense looked excellent. Like really, really good from Ellie on the reset pressure there. Also a Carleton grad, and lots of good pressure on the cutters as well.
Yeah, nothing's easy out here. You see, these are all close battles. The catches that are being made are through a lot of concentration, a lot of pressure. We're at 11s with just over a minute 20 left in this quarter.
Good pressure from Radiance. I think that the same kind of turnover that's happening here is really where Radiance is finding success and keying in. Kind of, if they're able to stop that first kind of point of attack, because the cutters for Strike are a little bit less active, it's generally like one cutter in the space per possession. They're able to help off a little bit more confidently from an inactive cutter.
So we saw a miscue there on kind of the Radiance handler set, trying to work it out of this end zone, similar to what we saw on the Strike side of just a point ago. But this gives Strike the short field, and all they need to do is right there, just kind of win that one-on-one ISO and quick little dish in.
I mean, very good D from Bacher at that point, and specifically this end zone possession here, right in front of the disc. I think that really does encapsulate the way that Strike is committed to playing offense, which is if you're a cutter, they're going to give you some time to get open. And having been, all of us having been out there, covering the third change of direction, it just gets progressively harder as you go. And they're really banking on their cutters to be able to get open when they've got that much time. And I mean, hard to really fault the defense there. That's just a tough cover.
When you get that much trust in your receiver, like you said, to just kind of hit that maybe not the first, maybe not the second, but they're going to get it, then all you do is have to put it out there. So we're coming out just with 12 seconds left of this third quarter. Whichever team has possession of the disc at the end of this quarter will try to play it out. Yep, and Wobbly's there. She's been
sharking,
kind of looking for that all game. Usually you see that a lot more in like the end zone space, but they were right there in that midfield to get the block when Strike needed it. And that'll wrap up the third quarter.
Saw that quick little ad from Discraft. The Discraft Ultrastar is the official disc of the Premier Ultimate League. Discraft, the world leader in disc sports. This live broadcast is brought to you by the Premier Ultimate League. The PUL is a 501c6 nonprofit. This league has been community funded since day one, and we're so grateful for the support. We ask that you consider donating to help us continue to transform and fulfill our mission. Head to premierultimateleague.com to donate today. Alrighty, getting loaded up for this fourth quarter action. That third quarter was pretty fun. I think we got to see a little bit of D-lines getting to work, not so O-focused. I think that we're seeing kind of each of these teams sort of figure out adjustments that are like working for them and try to continue to expand off of those. For Radiance, I think it's finding ways to provide a little bit of extra help kind of later in the development of certain cuts downfield. And for Strike, I think it's a little bit hard-nosed, just trying to play a high-pressure defense, especially off of a stop disc, and both of those teams finding some success doing that. So I think keys to look out for going into this, the second half is for Radiance, how do they kind of continue to create and sustain momentum when they're on offense? And I think for Strike, it's knowing kind of when is their help in place and when do I need to move the ball versus I'm going to let my my athletic squirrely receivers just get out there and open up some space for me.
That's right. Yeah, I think both teams have to keep, not to use a typical sports term, but got to keep your head in the game here. It's nobody's giving up. We're going into this fourth quarter as if it's the first point of the game, as if it's the last point of the game. It's practically 0-0. We've seen both sides bring out different defensive looks, so it's that's been exciting to see, and certainly both offensive sides have had to be ready to adjust, be sharp on their mental game too.
Absolutely, this game still in reach for both teams, and it's just going to be. I'm predicting it's going to be some amount of, lucky breaks, kind of loose balls up in the air, like who's able to really make those plays, and some adjustments.
Knocking on the doorstep here. You see Rupp taking a big load of this offensive movement. Find Sarah Mextroff right there. Pretty easy goal, I'd say. Movement down, offensive movement, confident, smooth, controlled that pace of that point, I think, pretty well.
For sure. Not, and in no way that the Radiance handler defenders haven't been playing with urgency, but I think that whole point really able to see Barnett and Connerly just keying in and really trying to see if they can't, make something happen in the backfield. And shout out to the strike handlers, really doing a good job of not only staying available as resets, but really responding to that high pressure defense and looking pretty unflappable.
Yeah, you see the start of that point with Rupp just making this low, outside throw around the mark, and it just like as a mark, it's like, what do? You can't really stop everything that she's got.
Yeah, definitely get Rupp her flowers has been pretty important for Strike's continued success in this game so far.
Let's see if Radiance can answer here. Certainly the Strike defense is taking away all the easy options downfield. We see Smith get a strike and then looking to... Oh, I don't know if we've seen that before.
We have not. Unfortunately, I do believe in the PUL that is not worth 3 points.
It's not a goal. That one bounced right off the field goal there. Strike setting up in a vertical stack. For a little twist action of the cutters.
And that last possession, Gray guarding Rippey, really fun. And now we've got that on the other side. They're zooming around out there. There's no doubt about it.
Oh, I think Tickhome got a piece of that.
Tickhome certainly known for having that mark, and she's a long handler, really able to assess what the right thing to take away is there. Damn tough drop from CBC there. I was just about to say that's a nice Radiance offense, moving the ball side to side.
Yeah, certainly the right look, the right system offense there, and then just a drop in the end zone.
And Gray boosting it.
Zeus fighting for the defensive here. I think put just enough pressure on to then meet the disc trailing off the side that. That wasn't going to be an easy catch. Right,
and even though the wind has sort of died down, it does seem like a lot of these throwers have adjusted a little bit more. Right, Gray taking primarily defensive responsibilities, hasn't spent too much time throwing. As we see ball going up to Rippey versus Gray.
Yes,
good grab by Rippey.
That was a battle. They were shoulder to shoulder. Neither of them wanted to give that one up.
Yeah, well, I mean, you can see Rippey's muscles from here, so able to put those to good use. Good grab by Baco, who's fired up. I mean, you love to see it. I certainly
love that
do.
that touch on that throw from Titcomb down the line there.
Right. I mean, that if you're Radiance and you're looking for like a little bit of something emotional to
Little
fire
spicy,
you up, yeah.
little spice.
If you're looking for a little bit of spice, it's right here. That tough little drop by CBC, but a great response. Yeah, that backhand, plenty of power, and I think the right shape just pulled it a little bit too far to the right. Hard to make that adjustment as the receiver, but nice huck. Able to see Rippey fighting for position, going up strong.
It's a great box out.
And, with all that ambidextrous practice on the throwing side,
Yeah.
certainly able to go up with the left with no issues. Good grab from Baco. And a nice big spike afterwards. I don't know how everybody feels about it, Jenna, but I love a spike.
You got to celebrate, when there's something to celebrate.
Absolutely. It's more of a downer. You make a great play, your teammates looking at you to get you get fired up, and you're like, oh, you scored.
It's certainly needed at this point. You
Yeah.
got to keep the energy high.
Hey, energy is high in the booth, and that's obviously what everybody's interested in. All right, so this is I believe, the second time in a row that Radiance PUL has been out of bounds off the dead disc. This is one of the things we talked about for, Radiance PUL plays. When they start off of no momentum, look a little bit less good. Ooh, I think we got
something new here.
Yeah, I believe it's a little 3-3-1 situation. I kind of like that. I think it's a good shout. They're playing that original mark relatively soft. So when the disc is on the sideline and Rydell here, who is marking, we're seeing that original mark. Just look to encourage them to throw it backwards. I think this is a great call.
Yeah, I think when you've got handlers like Strike does who can break the one-on-one mark and matchup, you got to take a look at something more like this. They're certainly doing a great job making this cup run, but the cup is doing a good job. The downfield defense taking the spaces there too. Up until that throw, keeping them from moving it up to the middle to the next line of offensive players. But Strike staying patient here, taking the smart options.
And another thing that I think is very interesting, and I'm certain, I don't know, we'll see whether it is working for them, but continuing to stay in this zone near the red zone, which is not something that a lot of zones run. But I think that this one has some potential to be really successful.
Yeah. And we've said a lot about Rupp this game, or at least I have, but Cook is doing a lot of work here too. Staying patient, just keeping the disc moving. That's the handler's role in this zone offense. Just keep the disc alive, and we can take inches and inch our way to the goal if we need to.
Good patient zone offense from Strike there.
Yep. I think it really helps to have a kind of hybrid midfielder like an Emma Peasley there popping through. She's able to get it almost every other, smart enough, solid enough throws that she's not going to turn it over. She's not going to take a high risk shot. She's going to keep the disc alive as much as any more standard handler in that look.
And for this type of zone, particularly any sort of contained zone that's not really looking to put the other team on the sideline and then apply a lot of pressure, the easiest, simplest way to create yourself opportunities on offense is to move the ball horizontally.
Yeah.
And I think that Strike, while maybe not going for intensely difficult or really visionary looks, play solid fundamental zone offense. They move the ball side to side, and even when the field is compressing vertically, as Radiance maintains the zone near the red zone, we're able to see Strike create opportunities for themselves by getting out in front, horizontally in front of those walls, looking to seal. So certainly, I'm guessing Barnett getting her steps in on that particular defensive point.
Yeah, that whole front line of Riedel and Carver. Yeah, they were doing some 40-yard sprints there almost. Yep.
It's nice timing from Titcomb there. Whoever took the over on Rippy's goals scored,
Yeah.
I hope you're about to make some
I
money
know.
because that's another one.
Unfortunately, I don't know if this game is on DraftKings, but I certainly would have put my money on her. All right, so we are, just past the halfway point of this fourth quarter, and Radiance still trails by 1. So this is a big defense, potentially a big opportunity for defense to get the break here and tie this game up.
I want to take a moment to shout out one of our sponsors, our longest gold sponsor, Lori Marcy Realty. Like the Radiance, Lori is dedicated and competitive. She's always aiming for the ultimate victory, finding you the right home. Reach out to her for any home realtor needs.
Lori Marcy has helped me buy 2 houses, and I had an excellent experience. 10 out of 10, 5 stars, whatever, double thumbs up. So I would certainly just anecdotally recommend her to anyone looking to buy a house in the Triangle.
That's some real community investment up here in the booth. We're money where our mouth is, right?
That's right.
I like that choice to put Barnett on rep here. I think that's, Barnett known for kind of length and having a long arm, as an unfortunate drop from Poyer, who's been a rock all game. Half-field chance for the Radiance D-line O.
And you see Lyman there, going to pick up the disc, but kind of using her hands to signal to the team, let's settle down, let's make this easy, this is the chance, let's be smart here. And that is just a heads up back up there from Claire Revere to catch that overthrown pass and just knock it in.
And not to toot my own horn here, Jenna, but like I said, it's going to maybe be those little hustle plays, those heads-up plays, and a short field little drop, and then a great heads-up play
Really
by
taking
Revere.
Advantage, yeah. Revere's someone you typically might see on a team's offensive line. She certainly has been in other seasons with the Radiance, and I think this what a lucky, great opportunity to have her on this D-line there for plays like that. She's an excellent defender, but also being there to be that scrappy offense and secure that goal for the Radiance. And it looks like Radiance is going to keep out the same D-line. You don't get to see that a lot in the PUL, where a D-line, sort of gets that rewarded. You did it. You did the work. You got the breaks. Stay on. So this is an exciting moment for this D group to kind of ride that wave. And put strike on their heels a little bit, but their offense has certainly shown that they're not shaken easily. So let's just see how this point goes. 14-14.
Byers pumps that deep look to Mextroth.
Yeah, and we see a Revere Mextroth matchup downfield. That's a great one. That is a tempting look deep, and this is Betcher. Betcher was Radiance's leading stat leader last season, and a big part of that was just blocks like that. This will be Radiance's opportunity to be patient here.
I think timeout call by Radiance. Chance to get that O-line on the field.
Yeah, not a bad time for that. We know that line had played the D point before, so certainly in high-level games like this, your legs you start to feel it after a minute on the field, for sure. That's kind of the beautiful thing about the PUL and those timeout opportunities is you can give it all you've got. In other versions of the game where you don't have the opportunity to sub in the team, you're maybe in the back of your mind, you're leaving a little bit on the table for that change of possession, knowing that I could be out here for 5 minutes. So I think that's a good call for the Radiance coaches.
Quick break. Looks like another 32/23 set here for Radiance.
We actually see Revere staying on the field here. Radiance coaches brought in, the rest of their more traditional O-line, maybe minus a Jenny Way, to keep Revere on the field.
For my money, I'd love to see some sort of horizontal motion in the backfield just to get things started here. Nice grab by CBC.
Yeah, way to keep that one in.
Backus on the free under. Good timing from Baco. Just a little bit hot on that downwind side there. Wind direction has shifted slightly, so we were seeing a little bit of far side of your screen to close side of your screen, and now it's kind of straight down the middle. And another turnover, short field turn. That one really tough. A direct crosswind for that around flick, and Radiance got a chance to show off their end zone set here.
This is a big moment for both sides.
As a reminder, this would be a break for the Radiance if they're able to get this one in. And Backus finding the flat side space.
Let's go.
Radiance pretty fired up after that one, and why wouldn't they be?
You know, you could say there's, been some lucky moments for each side, but at the end of the day, what do they say? Like, luck is just where preparation meets opportunity, or something along those lines. You know, both teams are putting a lot of pressure on to create those opportunities and those missed throws by, one way or the other. And it's been pretty even across the board. I don't think it's been one-sided in any way. There's been a lot of really good pressure here this game.
I agree. And that heads-up style of ready to react to the situations as they're happening is a really critical part of being a good player, because those opportunities are, especially at this level, just so difficult to force.
Yeah.
You'd be so sad if you see a disc, floating in the air and you were just looking somewhere else and weren't able to make that play.
I am glad I'm not coaching this game. I'll say that. This is a big moment.
Yeah, I'd be pulling my hair out a little bit.
Shaking a little bit.
Looks like another zone set trying to slow down these handlers. Now, one interesting thing is that Strike generally, it looks like as they now flow into their zone set, they don't always have a lot of handlers back. Now that they're set, I think this is a sort of much more classic sort of 2 center handlers, 2 wing handlers, and then 3 players downfield kind of playing interchangeably. But as this disc kind of continues to swing, like this swing up here that gains yards, so difficult for the defense to kind of respond to, and they make quick work of it.
Yeah, those 2 backfield cutters for Strike did a really good job splitting Radiance's deep there, and kind of got that fast, quick one in, which made Jay-Z bite over and then left open the other receiver in the field. As a defender, you got to make choices there, and sometimes when the offense has you split like that, you can't always get to the right choice at the right time.
And I think one thing that really observing that zone offensive point seems like these strike handlers really understand, which is something that I think some players understand, and I'm maybe a little bit soapbox about this. The transit time of your swings, really important.
Yeah.
And so with Strike, where they're zipping these nice, tight flicks that hit people right in the chest, means that there's no lag time for that next thrower to turn and then throw another threatening throw. So it means that Barnett, has to run and seal this edge. Barnett being the far side away from your screen wall there, needs to go and basically run a 25-yard sprint faster than the Frisbee.
Just to try to cut off that next, seal it off, that next throw. Exciting D opportunity here for Strike.
About 2.5 minutes left in this game, so certainly feeling the urgency.
Yeah.
Good D from Ellie there.
Yeah, you saw Radiance handlers going to run quickly to go pick up that disc, which maybe you don't always see on an offense, but they're wanting to knock this one in quickly, but smartly. You gotta stay patient here. You see Whippy on the ground, maybe signaling contact.
Maybe being stepped on or something. Oh, no, just an ankle
twist.
slide.
Yeah. injury called. So Revere coming in for Rippey. We see a Mexstroth coming on the field for strike. Good choices, both sides.
Really good defense from strike there.
Yeah.
Ellie playing excellent reset defense there.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, man. Tantalizing little floaty swing there.
Yeah.
Ultimately directly on the money. Excellent throw from Zeus to Revere.
Mm-hmm.
Comes in, scores the goal, doing the least work on that line.
That's the
Come
point.
on, Claire.
That's the stat.
Yeah, that's actually a really excellent throw. It's sort of, when that throw first goes up, not super clear how open Revere is, and by the time it's caught, you're like, all right, I see the vision.
Yeah.
It was there.
Yeah. I am glad you called out Ellie Fireside Ostergaard's dumb reset defense there, because she really has been tight, working hard, making any reset in that space do a lot of work to try to get open or have to clear out. She's been doing a great job putting pressure on and sticking tight.
It's that fencing footwork, transitioning between sports.
Is that true?
That is.
that right?
Other sports experience is that she fenced in middle school.
Very cool.
Also was really impactful for Carleton Eclipse, their D3 team, who won a national championship.
Is Carleton paying you to call them out on the stream?
They aren't, but I did wear my Carleton hat when I came
Yeah.
came to commentate today. What am I, not allowed to have school pride?
You can. It's one of the most prestigious ultimate schools in the country. So they've certainly earned the right for a few shout outs, I'd say.
A few shout-outs, but not anymore.
Who had it on their bingo card? Guess that was a repull.
Sure seems that way. Nice rip. Barnett down. Ooh, Barnett down on the handlers, looking to disrupt.
No
I
first-
like that little poach from Lyman here.
There you go. Yeah, there were no easy first opportunities there.
I believe a foul maybe on basis of dangerous play being called here. Didn't seem like there was a great deal of contact, but it looks like perhaps no foul call retracted, signaled by a lineman there. Man, this really would be a nail in the coffin for strike. I'm sure they're feeling the urgency here. Hopefully Radiance can be nice and chilly and punch this one in.
I think it's moments like these that you really see Barnett, Connerly back in the handler space, just really excelling. And then you've got a lineman on the field too. There's no bad option there. See the three of them work it a little bit.
It's a nice continuation throw from Connerly there.
Let's see. Strike's had some excellent end zone defense at times during this game. Can they get the stop here? That's a fun throw. Big celebration from Lyman there. I mean, you got to. That's another break for Radiance to maybe the biggest gap we've had of this game at 17-15. And I certainly don't think we've had more than a 2-point gap the whole game. So what an exciting moment for Radiance defense.
The thing I want to shout out here is, we've been spending a lot of time talking about how good these strike handler defenders are.
Yeah.
And I think the thing there is, for the Barnett, Lyman, and Connerly, who are running that possession for their D-line, is they committed to moving the ball really quickly.
Yeah.
It didn't always mean that the first throw they were throwing was a perfect up line for 10 yards with a continuation afterwards.
Yeah.
It just said, I'm going to throw the disc, and then I'm going to immediately start running. And you see, after the 5th, 6th, 7th cut, now they're really starting to get momentum, and it ultimately turns into that effectively really easy break side around throw for Barnett to Lyman.
What it forces those defenders to do is just, always, take that extra step next in that next direction to really stop that quick momentum, and then eventually you're able to get a little bit more of an opening for that kind of a round dish that we saw there. So Strike's got to score fast here in order to stay in it.
And another zone set here from Radiance, which I love. I think it's a great decision.
Yeah.
Only 30 seconds left.
It's going to slow down that Strike offense.
I'd be wondering if Strike is thinking about potentially throwing it up to Mextroth.
That's got to be why she's there downfield.
Nice. Around flick blade to
There's
Mex
your
right
vision,
afterwards.
Yeah. And
Nice D from Revere.
Yep. Great positioning, heads up there. That was coming in fast. I think Mex had to take that look with the amount of time that's left.
Absolutely. And Radiance pulls away at the end. Awesome game. Nice and tight. I think the end score would maybe not quite show how back and forth this was. Great little match across these teams.
I think certainly the closest match that either of these two teams has had this season. We've seen it. Radiance, was 2-2 coming into this game and had a couple blowout wins, some lower scoring losses, and this has been, in my opinion, the most exciting game of the season, to really have this never-ending battle all the way up until the end. And then you saw some interesting things, like that Radiance zone that came out. That was the first thing to really slow down Strike's offense. And then players like Barnett and Revere being put in at key moments to make plays.
Absolutely. So that brings our conclusion here to the game into the fourth quarter. Final score for tonight's game: we've got Strike 15 and your Raleigh Radiance 17. Thanks for watching today's broadcast, and we hope to catch you on the next one.